Is Deadpool teaming up with Wolverine really enough to save Marvel? Or have we entered a point where even the most iconic superheroes can't fix the mess? Before we dive in, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon to stay updated on all our latest videos. Sure, the action is wild, the humor is outrageous, and yes, we all love a good Deadpool punchline, but where's the substance? Imagine going in expecting Marvel's next big hit and leaving with more questions than answers. Why does this feel more like a comedy skit than a blockbuster? Why is the multiverse still confusing? And with all the real-world jokes and fourth wall breaks, is this just becoming a parody of itself? Stick around, because what we found in Deadpool 3rd may just show you why even fan favorites can't stop Marvel's downward spiral. In today's entertainment landscape, it sometimes feels like every trip to the cinema is more of a chore than an escape. And with so many lifeless streaming shows out there, it's refreshing to find something that's just pure fun. Or is it? We're diving into the much-anticipated 3rd installment of the Deadpool series, and this time it's not just Deadpool Wolverine is tagging along too. But here's the thing, while this movie brings plenty of entertainment, you might want to lower your expectations for any meaningful story. Humor has always been a key part of the superhero genre, but there comes a point where you have to ask, can you actually have too much of a good thing? Look at Guardians of the Galaxy, a perfect blend of comedy, action, and heart. Sadly, Deadpool Wolverine struggles to strike that balance, and before you get upset, let me clarify, I had a blast watching these two iconic characters go to town in all their gory, latex-wearing glory. The fight scenes were awesome, especially one epic car chase that stands out. There were some funny moments too, though. Not all of them landed. Take, for example, the opening scene where Deadpool tries to join the Avengers. It felt as awkward as sitting on a cactus, with jokes falling flat as Deadpool is stuck talking to Happy Hogan instead of any actual Avengers. Let's be real, no one rushed to theaters to see Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool exchanging quips with Jon Favreau's character. But once the movie picked up, the humor settled right into that familiar, juvenile territory that we've come to love from Deadpool. Cue the non-stop dick jokes and a never-ending parade of butt shots. And hey, no judgment here, that stuff never fails to crack me up. But here's where it gets tricky. While the movie keeps the jokes coming, there are just too many self-referential gags and fourth wall breaks. By the halfway point, it feels less like a Marvel superhero flick and more like something out of Austin Powers. Now, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with going to the movies for a good time. Some of the most beloved films from the 80s and 90s were light on plot and heavy on fun. If you're cool with turning off your brain and sitting through an avalanche of gay jokes, well, you're in for a wild ride. However, if you're a dedicated Marvel fan who's kept up with all the movies and streaming shows, this film might leave you frustrated. The plot isn't just light, it feels rushed and disjointed, with key moments that simply don't make much sense. And while I had a good time overall, there were some major issues that stood out, especially when it comes to the setup and conclusion. These are pretty big flaws, considering they're the foundation and the wrap-up of the entire story. Honestly, the plot itself is a bit of a mess, but hey, as long as there's no shortage of nut shots and butt jokes, right? The movie kicks off with Deadpool failing to join the Avengers, which immediately feels out of character for him, his motivation, impressing his girlfriend. But it gets weird because the movie plays this storyline fairly straight, which is odd for someone like Deadpool. And speaking of his girlfriend, she's left him another typical Hollywood reset so we can watch him win her back again. Except that's not even what happens. By the end of the film, Deadpool hasn't really won her back. And to be honest, the whole plot could have played out with them still together. There's no actual reason for them to be apart, other than the fact that Deadpool is now under Disney's roof, and Disney seems to avoid traditional heterosexual relationships in their newer films. The Avengers interview takes place on Earth 616, and then out of nowhere we jump 6 years ahead into an alternate universe, Earth 100005 or 10,005, however you say it. Here, Deadpool has hit rock bottom and is now selling used cars. Multiverse stories are tricky at the best of times, and personally I've never been a fan. But barely 10 minutes into this movie, I was already tuning out, trying to keep track of which version of Deadpool we were following. As far as I could tell, we had switched to a completely different Deadpool from the one who was at the Avengers meeting. So why does this Deadpool look the same? And why is he continuing the storyline started by the Deadpool from Earth 616? Apparently, it all comes down to Cable's time travel device from Deadpool 2. The Deadpool we've been following used it to travel to Earth 616 for the interview, then return to his home universe, Earth 100005. But how exactly does that make sense? The logic is shaky at best, and you can't help but wonder why even bother with this multiverse mess in the first place. Living one life in one universe and balancing a job in another, that's the reality Deadpool faces. But before we dive deeper into that mess, let's talk about the plot itself. Deadpool soon finds himself captured by the Time Variance Authority, who reveal a key piece of information. The Wolverine from Logan is what's known as an anchor being. When an anchor being dies, their entire universe begins to unravel, although the process takes thousands of years. So not exactly a pressing issue. The universe in question is Deadpool's own, and the TVA's villain wants to destroy it immediately to avoid sitting around and watching it collapse over time. That's essentially the entire plot, an impatient bureaucrat who doesn't want to wait. Hardly the stakes of a Thanos-level threat, right? And of course, this destruction is set to be triggered by some device that conveniently fits into a single room. Honestly, this plot feels as shallow as a puddle of vomit. Deadpool, not one to sit around for such a lazy storyline, grabs the universe-jumping device and escapes. His mission? Find another Wolverine to take Logan's place and save everyone he cares about. Now, let me be clear, I despise this whole idea of anchor beings, the concept that one individual is so crucial that their death causes an entire universe and billions of lives to collapse paints them as gods. And if we're saying these gods are more important than any other person who ever existed, then there's no room left for any sort of religion in the Marvel Universe. After all, it's the TVA that's running the show. It reminds me of Spider-Verse, where if the wrong person survives, their entire world falls apart. This whole thing cheapens the sacrifices that define so many superhero stories. Now we're just left with universes governed by vengeful gods who only care about the survival of a chosen few. But here's the kicker, these universes only start collapsing once an anchor being dies. So what does that mean? That each universe gets only one anchor being, and in Deadpool's universe, that one person was Wolverine? So sorry Martin Luther King, Winston Churchill, and oh yeah, Jesus Logan is apparently more important than all of you combined. And of course, let's not forget the women who made history too. Beyond the TVA villain's absurd plan to destroy a universe just to save time, there's another glaring issue. We learn that Deadpool still has Cable's time travel device, so if Deadpool needs a new Wolverine to replace Logan, why doesn't he just go back in time and save the original Logan? Problem solved, movie over. But of course, Deadpool can't just time travel and fix everything. Why? Because then we'd miss out on all the chaos that follows, like the hilarious fight with Logan's corpse meeting different versions of Wolverine, and of course the parade of cameos. Let's be honest, that's why most of us bought a ticket to this film in the first place. I've been waiting for this team up for what feels like forever, but the story, it just doesn't hold up. The Void universe, where most of the movie takes place, is utterly confusing, and the finale, which involves battling a bunch of Deadpool clones and disabling a universe-destroying machine hidden in a subway station for some reason, makes absolutely no sense either. Here's a question, why were all the alternate Deadpools, except for the handsome one, so determined to kill our Deadpool? Why were they even in the Void to begin with? Had their universes been destroyed? And can someone please explain to me who goes into the Void? Why are there pyramids there? What are the rules of this place? And let's not forget about Peter, who randomly shows up out of nowhere to save the day. How? Why? Is this even the movie they pitched to us? In the end, after an extended fight scene with the TVA villain, Deadpool not only manages to save the day, but he also inadvertently turns the universe upside down. They destroy the TVA instead of coming up with an actual plan to save it. Because why have a coherent plot when you can throw everything out the window? Sure, we get a few good laughs and some solid action scenes, but at the end of the day, we're left with a mess that leaves us wondering, what the hell did I just watch? To sum it all up, Deadpool 3 is pure chaotic fun that you'll enjoy for the wild ride. If you go in expecting a solid plot, meaningful character development, or any sort of cohesive universe, you're going to leave disappointed. But if you want to experience a film that knows it's not meant to be taken seriously, filled with absurd jokes, mindless violence, and chaotic antics, then buckle up and enjoy the ride. Deadpool and Wolverine's hilarious banter will certainly keep you entertained, at least until you walk out of the theater and realize that none of it made any sense at all. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this wild ride with Deadpool and Wolverine, make sure to hit that like button and share your thoughts in the comments below. What did you think of the movie? Did it live up to your expectations? We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to subscribe to Movie Saga and hit that bell icon so you never miss an update on our latest videos. Until next time, keep it cinematic.